Hey everybody, welcome to Batch TV. My name's Landry Morby and I'm the community manager at Batch Service. Today we're breaking down how you can start pulling quality list of sellers and buyers in your own Batch Leads account. Check this out. So everyone knows how important lead generation is within their real estate investing business. And you want to do this in a way that you're not pulling the same exact list that everybody else in your market is, because you want to find the sellers in this scenario that are basically raising their hand, waiting for a call, instead of getting 8, 10, 12 calls a day that just don't want to deal with it anymore. We'll also go over how you can find buyers in your market so that when you come across a deal, you can find somebody that might want to invest in that. So you can go into property search within your Batch Leads account. And there's so many different ways you could go about generating leads, like with driving for dollars as well. But we'll just stick to pulling lists for this. So in property search, you'll start by going to the search bar or using the boundary tool, because you can draw something out super specific if you wanted to. But I could look up a certain address if there was something I needed to look into and get more details on specifically, a city, a state, a zip code, etc. So let's just go ahead and go into the city of Phoenix. We'll keep it simple and click search. How this will work is the system will tell you what it's found in total on the right. So it's found over 446,000 properties, and now it's my opportunity to narrow that down. You'll see that there's quick filters across the bottom of the screen, which does make your life a little bit easier, but these are the lists that people are going to pull really quickly that others might be pulling just as fast. So I want to use what I like to call my foundational filters at the top of the screen to really narrow down exactly who I'm looking for. When I have these filters open, the way I think of it and describe it is you're painting a picture of the seller and or buyer you're looking for. We'll go over several examples of lists you can pull, and this will vary based on your market, when homes were built, average home price, and so much more. So do keep that in mind when you're applying your filters. You will get different results when applying these things. So let's just go through all of these so you have a good idea of what you can start filtering. If you have a Batch Leads account or you're thinking about trying it out, take your time here, because there's so much you can do to really find the best sellers that are just waiting for your call. So we'll go into occupancy status just to kind of give you an idea. You can find owner-occupied properties, which we'll come back to and pull a second list of sellers today. Today, I'm going to first be painting a picture and pulling a list of distressed property owners that have an older home, that don't live there, that have owned it for a super long time. Maybe we'll be looking for vacant addresses, maybe people in pre-foreclosure. We'll get there a little bit later, but let's just start applying some of these. So for this first list, I'm going to be focusing on absentee owned properties, meaning they do not live there. They are absent from the property. Meaning if someone owns 123 Main Street, but they live at 555 South Street, they're an absentee owner. They could have somebody renting it out from them, or a tenant, or it could just be vacant. But right now we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to start just going through each of the sections. In property characteristics, this is where you can start layering on things like the square footage of the home, how many bedrooms and bathrooms, if you want it to have multiple stories. And we'll come back to things like that for our next list that we'll pull in here. But let's say that we're looking for residential single family. This is another area where you can really dive into finding duplexes, quadruplexes, townhouses, multifamily, and so much more. But let's stick to single family for now. Year build, I'm going to apply here and find, once again, in this seller that I'm trying to find, or this list of sellers, is going to be older homes that probably need some TLC, probably need some help. So we'll do built before 1990. Now this is one of the filters that just won't work the same in other markets, that I might have to narrow it down. Let's say over in Georgia, I might have to narrow that year build down to something completely different. So that's one of the areas that comes with knowing your market and when properties were built and what's in the area. But we'll keep it there. Under MLS status, I can come and find on or off market properties. For this scenario, I'm looking for off market opportunities. I could come in and find canceled listings. When was that canceled listing date, etc. We're going to skip over some of those for now. There is a deeper pre-foreclosure and auction section compared to your quick filter, it's deeper than that. So I could find people in a specific part of the pre-foreclosure process, or if it's already gone to auction. So if they've just been given a notice of default, rather than having this entire quick filter of everything under this list, this is where you would go to narrow that down in your area. We're going to move forward from that for now, but that is there. Ownership info. Let's say that we're looking for properties that have been owned for at least 10 years. So I don't want somebody that has just recently bought a home, a few months ago. You could definitely narrow this down, and I encourage you to do so that you have different types of lists. Just because somebody's owned a property for 7 years instead of 10 plus doesn't mean they wouldn't be willing to sell. Just to give you an example of finding people that have owned a property for, the longer the better. And you can play around with these and keep saving different data points into your account. You can find company-owned or individually owned properties. I'll leave that alone for now, just so we can get a broader list, and you can always change this. You have lien and bankruptcy, so I could find people that have liens on their property, maybe making them more motivated to sell, or completely avoid them altogether, so that doesn't have any snags in my deal down the line. Valuation and equity. So if you want to find people that have either little to no equity at all for different creative solutions, or super high equity, making them more motivated to sell, in this scenario, maybe we're thinking of wholesaling. Estimated value, estimated equity amount as well will be here. Mortgage info, which will only be in certain plans, but if you have it available to use within your Batch Leads account, you could filter out the loan interest rate percentage, the loan type, number of open mortgages, and more. And then cash buyers, we're going to come back to for the third list that I'm going to pull today. And demographics. Here I can actually find owners based on the age, if they have children, if they have pets, their household size, their net worth, etc. So let's just stick with this for now. We're trying to find, or maybe we'll also add that they have at least 30% in equity. So we're finding people in Phoenix that are absentee owners, residential single-family homes built before 1990, not on the market, built or have been owned for at least 10 years, and they have 30% plus equity. Now, watch what happens on the right. Right now, we're just looking at the grand total of what's in Phoenix, and the quick filters are reflecting what's on the right. That's kind of their job and main purpose here, is they're letting you know what's hiding in your results on the right. So when I click apply, this will change and let me know what it's found based on my foundational filters here that I've set. And the quick filters will then in turn go and break down my new results. That is the best way for you to utilize these, is put down those foundational filters of the very specific things and criteria and that picture you're painting of who you're looking for and trying to target. And then use the quick filters maybe on top to narrow that down even further. For example, you can see that there are 19 properties in pre-foreclosure that still have all of this criteria that I put down as my foundation. There's 8,200 tired landlords that fit this criteria as well. 421 of those absentee-owned properties are completely vacant, meaning there's no tenant in there. 631 of them have defaulted on their taxes, and more. 208 expired listings. So use these to your advantage to find those narrowed down lists that not everybody else is going to be pulling because of those deeper foundational filters based on your market. So let's go ahead and pull these tax defaulted properties. And you could click on all of these addresses to open up the details and find out everything you need to know before reaching out to the seller. But I'm going to go ahead and click select in the top right hand corner, select all, visible or custom number. Let's just do, for now, I'm going to just save 100 of these to keep it a smaller list. Click add, and you could save the properties. You could even save the agents attached to these properties, which you might use for a buyer situation in here. But I'm going to select to save these to my database in my properties, and I would probably save it to a tax default list I have. And if you don't have any lists and tags created yet, or you want to make something fresh and more organized, you can just click add and name it whatever you want. Let's create a new tag, and I always like to have a tag that has, of course, where. So the market, I like to make note again of the list, tax default, and the date. Another great tip with using your tags here is you could put some of the filters you use so that when you go to pull another list, next week or next month, you're not pulling the same thing and you're differentiating the data you're bringing into your account. So you're not, reaching out to those same types of lists in the future. So we'll put the date as well and click save. So now those will be saved to my database in a very organized way. One other list to give you an idea of how you can start putting these filters together in different ways. Let's say we're looking for something completely different. So I'm still in Phoenix. I'm kind of just starting fresh here. We'll go ahead and just reset our results. We'll go back to Phoenix. Same idea, pulls up the grand total, but let's open up the quick filters or these foundational filters at the top and look now for owner occupied properties. And maybe we'll go down to property characteristics and put some of those same things like residential, single family. Once again, we could always do the year build. I'm going to do the same idea, 1990. And I'm going to do the square footage of the home, maybe to be a little bit larger. What I'm painting right now in this list I'm pulling is empty nesters or people that are going to, maybe they haven't thought about selling before, but they never use the upstairs in their home. All their children have moved out. Maybe they're in their 60s now, their 50s, and they could downsize and they just haven't thought about selling yet. So this is a whole different type of list that all it takes is a little bit of going through each filter and painting the picture. So we'll go and say maybe 2,000 square feet, maybe 2,500, and you can play around with these once again. Maybe for the stories, we'll do a minimum of 2. We are looking for people that hardly spend any time upstairs anymore. That's where all the kids' rooms were. Maybe it's just a pain to climb the stairs and they're air conditioning this large home that they're really not using. MLS status, I'm going to do not on the market. I could do other things once again that we've gone through. We could do ownership info again at, maybe we'll do 7 years for this. Once again, we want people to have owned these homes for a long time, but we'll just mix it up to show you the variable things that you can change. For the equity, we'll make sure that they have high equity. Maybe we'll say at least 50% equity. In the demographics, I could say they are at least 55 years old and see what we get. So going through each of these, a completely different list with pretty minimal effort. And now I can find, 1,300 properties that meet this criteria. If I really wanted to, I could narrow it down even more. This is kind of a very custom list, however. So if I wanted this to be smaller, I would probably just edit the filters that I already have over here to the left. Same idea, select them, save them to maybe an empty nesters list, a downsizers list, and make note of any of that criteria, the market and the date. Now, the last thing that I'll share is cash buyers. So how that would work, let's just go ahead and reset these, is I would say go straight down to the cash buyers section. You'll see when the grand total of those 446,000 properties were there to the right, there were over 100,000 cash buyers in the quick filter beforehand when we had that reset. But once again, use your foundational filters. This is where you can actually specify exactly who you're looking for. So let's say that you're trying to build your cash buyers list so that you can start reaching out to them and see what their buy box is, so that in turn you can easily pull these lists because you know what they want, is what many people do to start finding their first deals. But I'm going to go to cash buyers, the bottom. Say I'm looking for properties purchased with cash. Yes, you could filter out the owner type. I usually leave this alone, of company owned like a trust or an LLC, or individually owned. Let's do purchase date and say we're looking for homes that were purchased with cash within the last 3 months. So we want to find active buyers. I also want to find maybe people that have a certain number of properties owned, so they have a bit of a portfolio. And I'm going to say they need to own at least a minimum of 3 properties just to get some results that we can always change. And last but not least, and there are some other filters that you can take advantage of in Personal Plus plans or higher, but the other filter I will apply is to exclude or block out any properties where the mailing address and the property address are the same, meaning I'm looking for somebody that purchased a property with cash but does not receive mail there, they do not live there. So I'm looking for somebody that invested in a property, didn't just buy it with cash and lives there. Let's click apply. And we're looking at 661 of those. Once again, you could take this a step further and find maybe in the property characteristics, you're looking for just residential single family and weed out any multifamily units that were purchased with cash, or vice versa if you're looking for something very specific or a specific type of investor. And another thing that you can do with this, it just never ends, the variations, is you could even change the purchase date to a longer time ago, like 12 months ago, and maybe even add in the ownership info that it just recently sold, meaning you could find somebody that bought it some time ago, held it for a little bit, did some work, and sold it again. So all of these filters that you're applying are going to help you find exactly who you're looking for and trying to start those conversations with. Let's click apply, and just to give you an idea on this buyer's list on a piece of information to show you how you can dive deeper into this, you can open up the details and you can go to the owner profile. This person, for example, owns 19 properties. You can even get an idea of where they're likely to invest in the future before you reach out. If they're usually investing in more luxury properties or on the lower end, what year build they're usually investing in, and so much more. As you can see, the information here is so endless and allows you to pull exactly who you're trying to target in your market. If you haven't taken the time to go through property search in detail within your own Batch Leads account, or if you're just getting started with it, give it a try and take the time. Let us know down in the comments if you have questions or if there's something else you want us to dive into here on Batch TV. Click the link in the description to join our community, to connect with the group and ask questions there as well. And as always, be sure to hit the like button if you found value in this video, and subscribe to our channel so we can keep creating you great educational content for free.